interest. We like to pride ourselves on bringing you variations of anything to do with passive fire, broad, deep, long or short. Today we have Mark Sennett from Fire Safety Matters with us, and we're going to talk a whole raft of things. But for you, the members, and anybody watching, one of the things we agreed to do in support of Mark last year was this year, of course, we're celebrating 50 years of the ASFP. As you can probably tell by the new backdrop behind me, which we've invested a few pounds in. So as part of ASFP at 50, the ASFP will be turning up with the ASFP truck. For those of you who've seen it, if you haven't, you can't really miss it. It's turning up to both events. So we're going to talk about that and anything else Fire Safety Matters and anything else Mr. Sennett would like to talk about because this is his slot. Anyway, Mark Sennett, welcome to the ASFP.
Thank you. I mean, we talked about doing this for a while. I kind of feel put to shame in this setting, Mike, because bearing in mind I'm meant to be a publisher and event organiser,
Yes.
This is a lot more professional than what I do for a living.
Well,
so you're putting me to shame here.
We pride ourselves, Mr. Sennett, on being professional. If you talk to anyone on the council of the ASFP, one of my mantras is to turn passive fire from a trade into a profession. So we have to lead from the front. Welcome. You've come via, was it Burnley?
Yes, I did. Yes,
Oxford United?
Yeah, I'm a diehard Oxford fan. Last night was not the best result, 1-0. But
No.
hey, when you haven't lost in 10 before that in the Championship, I'm very happy still.
Could be worse. You could have lost 2-0 to Wolverhampton Wanderers over the weekend.
That's true. Done that before.
I've just given away my loyalties to anybody watching this. So, Fire Safety Matters. It's a magazine, it's an event, it's a whole series of things. And you've obviously been working on this for a number of years. So let's just talk about the two events this year. First of all is Coventry on the 5th of June.
You've got a good memory, that's correct.
Well, no, I've written it down.
You give it away now.
Michael Parkinson once told me, always come prepared. So it's at the Coventry Building Society Arena. That's where Coventry City play. It used to be called the Rico, I think.
That's correct. I think most people still know it as the Rico.
I still call it the Rico.
yeah. They hate the fact that everyone still calls it that, but that is its name.
I still call it that. So nicely set just off the M6. Let's just talk about that for a second. What's happening on the 5th of June? I think it also includes the Fire Safety Matters Awards in the evening.
Yeah, we've got the daytime is Fire Safety Matters Live. It's co-located with Security Matters Live, my other publication. We've got their Security Matters. It's a whole day of CPD. We're expecting across both events over 1,000 people to come, and in the evening we've got the Fire and Security Matters Awards. But the point of this event is it's different. You know, I founded the fire safety events, which obviously you're a key part of.
Yep.
This is something different. We do 2 of them a year at the moment, and next year we'll be doing London as well. And the difference here is it's a day to not just come and network and see a good exhibition of 60 plus exhibitors, but there's CPD on offer on a really high-level content program. We're thrilled with some of the speakers that we've got, including ASFP, so thank you for that, Mike. We're very grateful to have you as part of that. But also, because it's grown so much, you know, these tabletop events normally only meant to have 150 people in most sectors, right? Well, we had 750 last year, so we've gone into an exhibition hall, not as an exhibition, still as a tabletop format, but it's allowed us to do some fun things with ASFP, and you having your truck there is going to really stand out. It's a chance for you to educate in person, and it's nice for you guys too, in a sense that we can do something a bit different. You've got that space, and you've got the interest, and we're lucky. The reason we have as many people as we do is we've got a massive database. You know, we've got over 100,000 fire safety professionals on there. And so you could say, maybe I'm not converting very well bringing 1,000, but it's a free day. It's a free day for everybody. And it's a really busy and good day.
Yeah, and I think accessibility to information and knowledge is really important. And I think one of the things that that we've sort of being very aware of is there's still a lack of accessible information, quality accessible information in the marketplace, certainly in our sector in passive. And I think anything that sort of supports that, is a good thing. And like you say, you got 100,000, and if 20% of those come, that's 20,000. You might not get 20. You might get 10,000.
Expensive food bill for me.
Expensive food bill indeed. But it's all about giving the people the choice and the opportunity to turn up to these things. With the truck, by the way, because the truck is also a mobile podcast studio. Because this is a new sofa.
I remember, yeah, you got it.
Yeah, the old sofa's now in the truck. So we took the one out of here and put it in the truck.
Which basically means Mike's going on the road, which will be with his gig.
And Louis going, I'm there, because we'd like to sort of ramble along and things. So what we'll do is we do a thing we did at London Build, which is we did 60 seconds at London Build. So people came in the truck, so had 60 seconds to say why they were there, and what they're doing and what they're talking about. And it can be presenters, it can be exhibitors. We can even drag visitors on and say why have they come. They get 60 seconds to say why they've come and what they were hoping or did get from actually visiting. And then what we do is we just edit these into little 60-second multiple little vox pops, and we pop them out, and we can do them on the same day. So the truck is a really, really agile sort of PR asset. But it's also a good learning hub, because, of course, it has lots of stuff on there that people can take away and helps with their learning and understanding of passive fire. In terms of the awards, let's talk about the awards. How do people get involved in the awards?
Yeah, I mean, I actually think it's a favourite part of my job, the awards. We have other awards in my business too, because we've got 8 magazines that we own. But we launched the Fire and Security Matters Awards 4 years ago, and it's free to enter. That's the most important thing. And the reason I say it's probably the best part of my job is the genuine excitement I get from people, contests when they're shortlisted, let alone if they've won or commended or highly commended. Because I talk about this on our podcast, the FSM podcast. I'm not a hypocrite here. I enter my own business into awards in our industry because I want our staff to feel recognised, our brand to recognised. And it really means something to people, and the job that your members do and the wider fire sector deserves to be celebrated, Mike. They keep people and property safe. It's a life safety critical occupation,
it is.
And we don't hear much about it when it's done right, Mike. We only hear about it if things are in bad events. And actually, 99% of the job is doing a great job and protecting people. Yes. And that needs to be celebrated. So whether it is a fire safety team, a fire safety consultant, a project, a manufacturer, a product, a fire safety manager, woman of the year, things like this, we've got all of these categories that are free to enter. And you can do it, it's firesecurityawards.com, but actually the easiest way I always say to find our website is just throw into a search engine, Fire and Security Matters Awards, and up we come. It only takes 15 minutes to enter. There's 4 or 5 questions per category. But the popularity of the awards has just grown and grown. I'm not sure I can quite envisage how it's got to when we launched them. So this is only the 4th iteration, Mike. Last year, we had 380 entries and 810 people come. And we sold out the last 2 years in a row. So I've had to take an even bigger space at the Coventry Building Society Arena. So now it's huge this year. It's we're trying to get about 1,000 people there. It's got a lot of entertainment. We've got Omid Jalili is the comedian in there.
He's the Iranian
He is, yeah. He's very, very funny.
Yeah.
And he's also, you don't really realise he's an actor as well as he's a comedian.
Is, yes.
James Bond he was in, wasn't he?
James Bond, and wasn't he in Lord of the Rings or
and The Mummy?
Harry Potter or something? The Mummy, that was it.
Yeah, he's very good.
I'm sure his agent will thank us for all of this.
Yeah, I know. Right? He should thank
PR.
us for his fee, to be fair. My God, we're in the wrong game, I tell you.
Yeah. No, yes, I know. Yeah, funnily enough, no one seems to want to pay for people like you and I.
No, not to do stand-up comedy.
There's an expectation that we turn up for nothing.
But yeah, I mean, the evening is effectively for an awards series. It's the biggest in the sector combined with security. Yeah. So, and that obviously has 2 different verticals that are there, and we've got dodgems, casinos, everything is in it. It's a huge evening this year.
So it's not just a fire security event. It's not just an awards. it's a thing. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Is that what you're saying?
And it's great. What I enjoyed the most the first couple of years is seeing, some of your opposite numbers in and other associations.
Yeah.
Being the last in the bar till 1 a.m, chatting to each other.
That's not uncommon with trade associations.
That's very true.
Mark, I have to say, I'm trying to break the mould of that particular.
I suspect we'll see you up late that evening.
Nine, I think, is the latest I go to bed these days.
Well, you won't be napping at the table this year, then.
This is true. Yeah.
But and you know all about awards because you do a fantastic awards, the ASFP Awards, and I was really thrilled to be part of that.
And thank you for coming.
No, I loved it, and you didn't tell me that one of my clients had won. So that was a surprise.
We don't say. Well, I don't know it. You see, because we have a separate judging panel. I actually say to them, don't tell me. I only know maybe a day or two before, because if you remember, I sort of made that quip about people approaching me in the lavatories. It was getting to the point where I was being approached in lavatories on a regular basis, and so it's taken all that particular social problem away from me.
It's tricky because I know so many of the people that enter, all of my clients, that I do know who's won. I don't pick them, the independent judge. Well, you're a judge this year, so yes. I hope you're not open for bribes. So
no,
good.
I've
good
signed the ASFP ethics policy, fully signed
Excellent. So, although Ian Moore has probably said he is available for bribes.
Is he?
Yeah, so he claims.
See, that's the difference between the FIA and the ASFP, really, isn't it?
Well, he's got his gong now, isn't he? He's
Ian Moore,
nearly
OBE.
Syrian, nearly, isn't it?
Ian Moore, OBE. Yeah, we mustn't forget that.
But yeah, I mean, the awards are a great thing. But really, why I would ask you guys to consider entering, particularly ASFP members that are listening here, is it's recognising you. You can enter yourself or your organisation or a colleague or a team or a product or a project. Because what you do is really important and deserves celebrating. Now, as much as I'd love to say it's all about winning, it's not actually, and I really mean this. If you can get on the shortlist...
You have to look sincere when you say this.
I mean it. I mean, listen, bearing in mind I was up for 8 awards this year, we won none.
There you go.
We did win the previous year. But I do mean it, because actually getting shortlisted is something that not only will make your team or you or the organisation feel good, but it's great PR. We have ASFP members that advertise in our publication that put the logos on there to say that they're proud to be there. And from a networking point of view, it's just a great day. You've got the conference you can attend for free in the daytime, and then it's a perfect way to culminate it. And it's definitely getting more gravitas, as I told you off air earlier today, that we've actually surprisingly got 2 ministers that are out doing the opening addresses of Fire Safety Matters Conference in the daytime. I have invited them to the awards, but you know what these things are like, Mike. See if they last all the way through to the awards.
It depends you can also tell if they're going to leave early, because the limos come back to the front of the building with the engines running. So until subject to change and variation, we have Diana Johnson, who's the Fire Minister.
Yep.
And we have Alex Norris, who is the Secretary of State for MHCLG, Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, or in old money, Levelling Up, if you remember Levelling
Absolutely.
Up. So it's Diana Johnson and Alex Norris, and they're doing the sort of
they're doing an opening address at 9:15 in the morning. You know, we're obviously thrilled and honoured to have the ministers come. We'd originally just approached the Fire Minister, but then Alex Norris said he would like to be involved as well, which is great. But it's, if you look at it from this great session from ASFP being delivered there in the afternoon, which will be talking all about safe passive systems in there as well. We've got key associations alongside ASFP there from the FIA. They're doing stuff on, what does competent look like. We've got FireQual as part of that. We've obviously got the ministers. We've got Colin Todd. I think everyone knows Colin Todd, bless him. He does a lot of this stuff talking again about competency of fire risk assessors. But we've also got some of your members. We've got Siderise being part of it. We've got Global HSE, which is, I think, do I have to call them Global Group now, or Global HSE?
They are a group. I think they're a multi sort of faceted thing, and they're spreading their wings because they had a stand at Intersec in Dubai.
I saw Andrew there, and Andrew's did a brilliant job growing that business, and they are doing a really fantastic session to do with compliance with the building safety regulator.
Yeah.
So there is so much on. I mean, obviously we're talking about passive today, but there's plenty of active sessions as well. It's an event.
You say that. I mean, one of the quite often we have a sort of common criticism levelled at trade bodies, primarily because I think people think we're sort of akin to these sort of similar organisations that move in the secret sort of world of funny handshakes and everything behind closed doors. We're not. We have an open door policy here, but one of the criticisms levelled was that trade bodies don't collaborate, and actually that couldn't be further from the truth. It's just not in sort of full view. We do lots of collaboration. One of the latest ones is the ASFP is collaborating with the FIS, the FIA, not FIS. We do collaborate with the FIS, with the FIA, because we're developing a best practice guidance document in the interfacing of active and passive systems. Now we've never done it before. We've never collaborated so closely with the FIA before. They're active, we're passive. It's not like there's sort of a sort of conflict. But I think it was just the time, when we started talking about it, that the environment was right. I've known Ian Moore way before my time here, and and things. So, and Ian Moore and I get on very well. We don't, we have a fantastic sort of relationship in terms of representing both active and passive. And that's going to be something that's going to add significant value to the industry in a year or so's time. So we do collaborate, and but they focus on active because that's a huge sector of the industry, and we focus on passive. But of course, bringing the two together.
And you do so as a member of the Fire Sector Federation too, and you've worked very well for years with the FPA, and obviously you get on well with Gavin there now as well, and you're very proactive of that, and it's good. And to be fair, in the past, I'm not talking about recently, in the past, has been a criticism of the fire sector associations. They haven't worked close enough.
They've been
together.
siloed, and de-siloing is one of the is part of that sort of change in direction, because the part of the problem that was created around the Grenfell issue was that the different professions and trades and industries were all siloed from each other.
Yeah, I mean, Judith Hackett said that to me personally. I asked her, why did you go direct to people like ASFP or FIA rather than go through the Fire Sector Federation directly? And she felt at the time they were siloed, so you should get the expertise you needed from ASFP by going direct to ASFP.
Yeah.
But I do think from that period, and there's been changes at the top. Obviously, you've been in post a few years now, and things have changed. But there is definitely stronger working relationships between the associations. Than before,
very much so. Yeah, I think it's I think everybody realises is that everybody has a level of expertise in their own area, but of course to bring that together requires collaboration, which in some cases it didn't happen.
No, it didn't, and that's no different than what our publication Fire Safety Matters is. Our partnership with ASFP and many other associations is just that. You bring expertise in terms of being able to give high quality content in the publication, which you do. We cover all ASFP news through there as well.
Yes, you do. Yeah, and thank you for that.
It's essential. The stuff that we want to get that message out. We want to help grow ASFP membership as well, and in return, we get outstanding quality articles, and it comes hand in hand with events too, Mike. Having you, which you've done before, speak at events for us, and your team to doing this year at Coventry and Manchester, it brings ASFP members to events. It also brings my audience more exposure to the great work that you do, and hopefully then leads to them getting even closer involved with ASFP, whether it be on a membership level, whether it be on training, whatever it is. So, for me, it's a partnership we're really proud of with ASFP, and all we are is a conduit for information. That's what we are. We will cover what's going on in the sector. I wouldn't, even though I'm not the editor of the publication anymore and I own it, Brian's the editor, I don't profess to be a fire safety expert. I'm a journalist, but that's what my background is. Now, I've learned from osmosis by learning from people far smarter on this topic than me, like you, more about the sector. But the experts are the people that write for us. The experts are the people that read what's there. And the magazine, whether it's the webinars we do, which we get about 1,600 people coming to, or the weekly e-newsletter, or the website, or the magazine, or the events, whatever it is, it's about CPD educating. And ultimately, Mike, when you put it really down to what it's doing to do, it's sharing best practice. It's sharing updates and standards. It's all about compliance and trying to make sure that, and we can help show not just the latest technology and products that are there, but educating our audience about key changes and how they can comply. And when you really draw down to it, what we said right at the start of this, keeping people and property safe. That's what the job is. And I'm lucky. When I founded the magazine, oh my God, 8 years ago, and I'd been at the FPA before that, I don't think you'd ask me as a journalist, did you think you'd be in the fire sector? I would have said, no, I'm happy at Eurosport where I started. That was my passion. But you find, Mike, and you've been in the sector so long as well, when you get into it, it really gets under your skin. You enjoy it. People stay in this sector for a long time.
Yes.
It's a job that can make a difference. And something you and I have talked about in the past, actually going down to the next generation is the important part. Because if I tell my kids what I do, etc., it doesn't necessarily sound that sexy and exciting, but we've seen each other in probably about 3 different countries, and we saw each other in Dubai the other day. So it's a chance to have a great career. And I know that ASFP have been active in that, and FIA have been active in that as well, because the fire sector is a chance for a fantastic career.
No, I think you're right. I think, and it's about, we talk about, and people won't be unfamiliar with the phrase SCEB, skills, knowledge, experience, behaviours. It's about bringing people in that, we can they'll come in at a level. If they come in at a lower level, if they come in from outside the industry, it's, creating that mechanism that we can very quickly, upskill them so that they can add value. And like you say, they can get something out of working in the industry. We recently started Young Leaders at the ASFP, and that is, there's two things to it really. One selfishly is that Young Leaders are about getting young employees of member companies to engage with the association so they understand it and they continue to see that it has value. Because, of course, sometimes you get somebody who sees that there's value in membership of an organisation, they leave that business and the person that takes over doesn't, and they don't renew their membership. And, of course, for a membership organisation, that's, a significant part of what it's all about. So it's about making sure we've got young employees of member companies that want to engage, get involved, put themselves forward for council, and become the future council and future exec board of the association. And because, it doesn't take a genius, Mark Sennett, when you walk around trade shows, the demographic of exhibitors and attendees is of a certain type, isn't it, Mark Sennett?
It is. I mean, I'm 40 and look older, but and I'm on the younger side.
Well, that's because you're an Oxford United fan. That's
true.
why you look
that
older.
And 13-year-old twins will age, I can tell you.
The demographic is probably slightly closer to me than it is you, but we have to, and we're seeing that in its physical sense. I mean, last week, a friend to everybody, Joe Celia retired from the FIS. He will be a big loss to them, and he'll be a big loss to us because he was a significant conduit between the active industry and the passive industry. So I think, from that point of view, if you take Joe as an example, who replaces Joe? Well, I know, there's people at the FIS that are, Joe, I think that I can't remember the gentleman's name, but I think they do have somebody. But that's not an easy switch, and you lose all of that knowledge and experience.
I remember talking to you about this at Intersect. We were talking about, how do you get that next generation in? How do you find the next person, when you want to step down or retire or move on? How do you find that person? Because we talked about Liam Moore. We were talking about as an example too, didn't we? And it's and you look at what happened at the FPA, where obviously John O'Neill tragically passed away. That business wasn't prepared for someone who'd been there for so long, and but I think it's great what you're doing on the young leaders side. I can see it in ASFP, more engagement from members than before. We can see more and more people coming. It's not a youth movement for youth movement's sake. It's not that.
No.
But there's a real opportunity in this sector. You can be in the fire sector as a marketeer or as a salesperson. You don't have to be a technical person or a firefighter or...
in fact, most people aren't actually.
No, they're not. And you find that equality is very good in the fire sector on marketing. Vast majority, I would say, marketeers are probably ladies.
They are.
In there now.
They are.
Including my own organisation. So it's a wonderful sector, a wonderful career. And trade shows and awards that we talked about, our conference and the awards, it's a great way of bringing people together. And as I probably should have said earlier, it's free to come to the conference. After Valentine's Day, we'll be opening registration for free. So depending on when this goes out, after the 14th of February 2025, if you go to fsmlive.co.uk or just throw in Fire Safety Matters Live, you can register to come to the event for free. The awards, we are accepting entries until the 31st of March 2025. So again, just throw in Fire and Security Matters Awards and you can enter for free there. But those events are great. You see so many of your peers, and you get expert knowledge, whether it's from ASFP, see new products, and as a chance to get a lot of CPD too. There's a lot of CPD on offer. So yeah, it's a busy day, and now we've obviously got the Security Matters Live with it as well. And on the installer side, that's quite important, Mike. You see of fire systems, often they also install security systems, so it made sense to have our security event co-located at the same time as the fire one. So yeah, it's going to be a busy few weeks, and we'll see each other plenty before then. We still got the fire safety event in April, where you'll have a big presence as well, don't you?
And the truck's going in there.
Yeah, that'll stand out there too.
So we're just sorting that. Believe it or not, taking a truck into a venue is a logistical headache.
I know it. I live it.
Yeah. So 1st of October 2025. So and that will go in a blink of an eye.
It will,
won't it? Honestly, Emirates Old Trafford Cricket Ground, which is where Lancashire play, is Fire Safety Matters Live in Manchester, and we attended that last year. ASFP, we decided we were going to come along and sort of squat in one of the corners. Some great presentations. I like that venue. I'd never been before.
It is a nice venue. So of course, you'll note that when we do the promo on it, we always say Emirates Old Trafford Cricket Ground, because you can just guarantee if you say Old Trafford, right, someone's going to rock up to
Old Trafford
to Man United, which is about half a mile walk away. So we have to put the cricket club bit in. It is a different venue. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not often surprised with events that I've been part of. I was surprised by that one. That had a lot more people come to it than I originally. We had nearly 700 people.
Standing room only in the theatre.
Yeah. We had. Well, if you remember, we had to take out seats to create more standing room.
Yeah,
and
it was very busy, I have to say.
And so we had nearly 700 people there. And we had co-located conferences with NAFO and IFSM there as well. And it's a part of the country. What you find, Mike, and you know this from the events that you do as well. People that will be listening to this, you're busy, right? Getting out of the office is harder than ever before. You know, if nothing else, post-pandemic, people are more remote than ever before. Yeah. So that's a good excuse for why to come to an event, absolutely. But you have to work hard to get people to come to events. But they also won't necessarily travel because, we're a small island in the United Kingdom and England. Our road transport network, people want to get there before rush hour and go before the next rush hour, right? So it's very weird going to shows in England.
Yeah.
So if you can take an event to a region that wouldn't necessarily travel to the Midlands or to London, that's the point of doing it. That's why we do one in Manchester, one in the middle, and then next year in March we've announced that we're doing one in London at Kempton Park. And the point is, Mike, that you bring it so it's easily accessible to people. The venues that I select have to be easily accessible, whether it's by public transport. And there's a metro station attached to Emirates Old Trafford. There's free car parking. That's a big thing too, particularly on the installer side. People that are missing jobs to come in and out here. This is why we didn't pick Wembley, a venue that I love, because you'd have had to have paid ULEZ and you'd have had to have paid extortionate parking. It's trying to make it as easy as possible for people to come to these venues. That's why we put on free food, free tea and coffee, free parking, because we want there to be no excuses not to come. You what the agenda, if it's relevant. You know the exhibitor base, if it's relevant. But actually, that networking side and making it convenient to get to. I really, really like that venue. The only problem with the venue that we've got is a good one. It was standing room only. And, that's something that we'll have to look at as we move forwards. But, yeah, I mean, for a first try, I was absolutely thrilled with how that went. And without doubt, that shows the strength of the partnership with people like ASFP, because ASFP members were there. And it went really well, and the feedback we had afterwards shows that. So I love doing these events. It probably comes through what I'm saying. It gives us a chance to get out and see people.
Yep.
And, we're not just a publishing business. Nothing makes me prouder than seeing a great-looking print publication, but people consume information in different ways. Before you were part of the ASFP, there would never have been ASFP TV in a studio or a van. It's the ways that people want to engage with content. It's changed,
how
Mike.
it's reach. It's reach, touch. It's the voice. Yeah, you're right. I mean, somebody was mad enough to give me the keys to this place and say, but if it's about how you consume information.
Yeah.
And people, don't necessarily read a 7-page white paper anymore. What they do is they watch it on their phone that's propped up on the dashboard of their transit van while they're eating their lunch outside a building site. People consume information and knowledge very, very differently. And yeah, I mean, what us sat here is actually, a significant part of that step change.
It's just a massive night and day change, and I'm sure we're about to talk about a launch that we're going to do on that front. But webinars are one of the biggest things that we do, Mike. We have an average of 1,600 people come because everyone gets a personalised CPD certificate for that, and we do about 40 or 50 of them a year. And again, when I was at university trying to be a journalist, they don't talk to you about, do webinars and podcasts, Mike. I mean, I was at uni, 2003 to 2006? Even then, it wasn't, podcast, webinars, social media, it wasn't. But print is still an important part if you want to read something in detail, for sure, because the sector that we work in is a technical sector.
It is, yeah.
But if you want to read news, you don't wait for a publication to come out every other month. You look at the website or other websites or the BBC website, wherever it might be. But of course, there are so many people that come up to it, traders, I listen to your podcast when I'm at the gym or on the train. It makes me laugh. I thought it was somebody on a treadmill listening to me and Brian talk on the FSM podcast. But it's time. We're all busy. It's how you can consume it in the easiest, most convenient ways. Yeah. And face-to-face still plays a massive part of that.
No, it is. It's very much. And you don't realise sometimes the effect it has on people. So we were stood in our little shell scheme at the Intersec in Dubai. And I'll have witnesses to this fact, by the way, so who can corroborate the story. Guy came up and said, I watch all your podcasts. I think they're great, really informative. And I said, well, they're not my podcast, they're the guests' podcasts. He said, but, and he was a local Emirati. He lived in the UAE.
It does connect to a wider audience too. Yeah. We've got more of an international audience too. And it's funny, and you have that at trade shows. I have that. They'll go, listen to the FSM podcast. And that's great, Or I've seen you on webinars, Normally I'm worried if someone goes, your face is familiar. I'm like, Crime Watch?
Crime Watch normally.
So, but it's different. But actually, I own a business called Western Business Media that obviously is the publisher of FSM, and we've got 8 publications in different verticals. People listening to this, the one will probably know, other than security matters, they'll probably know health and safety matters. But the big thing for us is learning about how people want to engage in our content. And, I came to you early doors on this one to say what the next was about a new project we're working on, which is a CPD streaming service. Almost like, this is so crude to say, like a Netflix for health and safety and fire safety. And, it's called Ignite CPD. And that's coming out by April. And happy to chat to you about that now. I'm really excited about how that's...
let's because... We first engaged on this because, of course, you use the word ignite.
Yes.
And that's the name of the ASFP magazine. So we reached a deal that you would stick the term CPD on the end of it. So we kept ourselves out of the courts. It's always better to stay friends than enemies, isn't it?
Listen, and it's your magazine's a fantastic magazine, and for us, it's always trying to come up with a name of what would go across fire and health and safety was there. And of course, we're going to partner with ASFP on this as well, so we can give member discounts to your members, and we will look after the association, a commission front on that basis too, because we want to give back to the sector. And for us, this isn't something that we just created. It's the most research project I've ever been involved in B2B media. We got a proper subscription consultant from the B2B media sector to run this. We ran surveys, and about 600 responses to one and 600 responses to another, which is really asking, what do you want next? What do you value? And the things that came back, Mike, were CPD, no shock to you, you'll understand that, our webinars on demand, and then I think that threw me initially, which was more video case studies. So I looked like, what is a video case study? What I mean, am I going to go to manufacturers and talk about how they've been installed in the shard? What was it? So I thought about it, and I realised that we've got an archive, Mike, of 300 webinars that we've done over the last 4 or 5 years. And we do 3 events a year in fire and health and safety, where we're putting on, when other associations do, say like IFSM or NAFO, they're doing their own sessions. We filmed all these sessions. So this service, Ignite CPD, is going to have all of our 300 webinars and the last year's worth of in-person event seminars filmed. All of next year's seminars will be filmed as well and dropped gradually over. So signing up to this service is a fully searchable platform. Because at the moment, if you wanted to watch past webinars we've done with ASFP, you'd have to register for each one individually, including ones that we've done with your past companies like Cooper's Fire. You have to register each one. And that's a faff. And we were told it's a lot
younger in those.
Well, you've always looked young, right? Sprightly. That's the word we're going with.
I'll take that word. That's the word of the day.
Sprightly is the word of the day.
We'll take that one.
It's a faff to have to register up to 300 webinars. It's just not going to do it. So fully searchable there. But also, we're going to drop 160 new webinars every year. So this service...
That's a lot.
It's a lot,
what's that, like one every 3 days or something?
Yeah. So when you think about it, just an event that we do at Coventry, there's 30-odd sessions we can film there. We do over 100 fire and health and safety webinars a year. So there's a lot there. And of course, there's ancillary markets that we're in too that cross over. So the logistics market, when you're talking about health and safety, workplace transport is there. There's industrial magazine that we have, which will have industrial fire safety webinars talking about big manufacturing premises. So there's crossover of everything that we do. So we surveyed our audience, and what was great was over 100 people offered to be telephone interviewed as well, and we to be honest, we covered about 25% of that, and I said, what do you want? And we came up with this proposition I'm telling you about, and really the audience has shaped what they wanted. And we said, you'll get a personalised CPD certificate for each one that you watch. You can store online or download, which we know how important CPD is to the health and safety and fire safety sector. So yeah, it is like a Netflix for health and safety and fire safety, but it has CPD attached to it. Thus the Ignite CPD bit. Every single webinar or seminar you watch will give you a personalised CPD certificate. So, and again, the price point of this is, it's obviously your company will pay for this, but it's about £300 a year is what it is. But considering...
Is that per licence?
That's per licence. Now, we may down the line look at...
So is a licence for an individual or an organisation?
At the moment, it's a licence for an individual. So let's say, for example, 2 of your staff wanted to buy a licence. I've got no problems, anyone watching this, buying one licence. The only problem you may have with that is, if you both want the CPD certificate will be under the name of the main user. So if Mike Ward is sharing his account, then the CPD is going to come under Mike Ward's name. But I'm sure we will go down the line of getting corporate packages at the moment. But actually, it's trying to keep it cheap and affordable. And, I don't mind if someone shares an account with 4 people. I just want the content to be accessed. But if CPD is the key thing to you, then yes, you'll only need an individual one to collect your CPD. But when you think of that already, for that £300, and you've got a year's subscription with that, you've got 300 webinars already. It's like £1 a webinar, and that's only going to increase by about 160 each year. And of course, for us, this allows us to have content relevant internationally as well. It allows us to, those people that can't come to our events, we're not going to bulk upload everything the week after Coventry, because otherwise why would you come to Coventry? But over the course of the year, we'll drop that through, and we will film sessions with ASFP there as well. And it's not everyone can come to events, Mike. As we said throughout this podcast, it's about different ways to access information. And this wasn't my idea. It wasn't my company's idea. It was our audience's idea. It was, this is what we value. What can you do to make our life easier to access information quickly from experts? And, there's plenty of legal sessions there from Warren Spencer's, great sessions from ASFP and other associations, major manufacturers from FSI through to Apollo fire detectors. It's huge. And then massive ones like 3M. It's very, very diverse. So it covers everything from legislation to compliance to training and to verticals, Mike. Tall buildings, heritage premises, educational premises. What could be more important than talking about protecting children in schools or vulnerable people in care homes or in hospital premises?
Well, of course, and a lot of those buildings aren't actually over 18 metres, are they?
No, absolutely not.
And I think we forget that sometimes.
We do, and the healthcare and the care home side and the education program is absolutely vital. But different kind of vulnerable people, children are vulnerable in different ways, right? But that job is so essential that those people do keep people safe, and we've got so much on that. So as you could probably tell from me talking about it, really excited about it. I'm excited about it because our audience created it, and it's what they want. So hopefully, people will be interested in signing up when it goes live around about April time. You can come and see us at the fire safety event. Come and see us in Coventry. We obviously have a stand at our own event. We're stupid not to, right?
Yeah, I was going to say. It's your birthday.
Absolutely.
Or it's your party, rather.
Actually, my birthday this year was great, Mike. It was 40th birthday, and the day before, Oxford got promoted at Wembley. So it was the best 40th birthday ever.
That's and so Oxford are now in the Championship.
The Championship back there. I was a kid, Mike, when they were last there.
And where are they in? Because forgive my ignorance, I don't really follow the Championship.
Well, Villa did go there at one point. There was one point you did.
It was a long time. We're more Champions League these days.
You are these days. That's true.
So I'll just where are they? Are you happy where they are?
I can say mid-table mediocrity is beautiful.
That's
Mike.
good, because normally you come up, you sort of hover around the bottom 6, don't you? And you can always, you can see that between the Championship and the Premiership is that there's a sort of collective of about 8 or 10 yo-yo teams that sort of go between the Championship and the Premiership on a regular basis.
So there's a massive gap between the Championship and the Premiership, and there's a massive gap between the Championship and League One. But I talk about football a bit on our podcast and stuff as well, because I want people to understand. Brian, our editor, is a massive West Ham and Rangers fan. He lives in Scotland. He actually travels down more to games at London to watch that than he does at Rangers. He's a season ticket holder at both, weirdly. But I want people to understand more about who we are as people, what we're interested in. You'll see on LinkedIn, I'll post about stuff that we do with our kids, because I want people to get to know us a bit more as well. And, for me, you kind of understand your own mortality a bit more when you turn 40, Mike. I'm not old, but you certainly think about stuff a bit more in the
I would say you probably do, but I would struggle to remember it, because I've gone past another milestone that makes you more aware of your own mortality even more.
You never feel older, do you? That's it.
No,
you
absolutely
never do.
not.
You still feel like a kid inside.
No,
and
it's the joints that tell you that you're older.
The joints definitely do. But it's great, and the football's a big part. I take people from the sector to games. We find out that they're a supporter of a team that we're playing, and we go, and it's great for family time. Too, so to have that memory with my children, and my business partners came, and some of my staff go to games with me too. Poor sods, right? To drag them to Oxford games.
Well, if we'll have to go and see Oxford United, and you can give me a synopsis on their on them. So in terms of this year, this was obviously, we sort of started off the conversation. ASFP at 50. 1975. Can you believe it?
It's changed so much, this organisation. It's just even in the last 5 years, Mike.
Yeah, it's certainly changed quite a bit. Yeah, 5th of June is Coventry Building Society Arena. That's the Rico to you and me. And then the 1st of October, Emirates Old Trafford Cricket Ground, and that's where Lancashire play, and not as some idiot mentioned earlier on before we started recording. Yorkshire, that's a different ground.
No one said your geography was strong, Mike.
I'm not good on geography outside of the West Midlands. So apologies, Yorkshire. So in terms of, we've got the 2 shows, obviously a publication. You've got a directory, I think, which you publish every year as well.
Yes, which you're a key part of, and I'm grateful for that this year. So we do an annual guide called the Fire Safety Matters Guide to UK Fire Safety. We completely changed that this year to we did extensive state of the market survey where ASFP and other associations contributed questions that we could go out to our audience to ask, and it got fantastic response, and it really gave us an insights into the struggles and problems that each of our readers and your members are there. I mean, so there's some good stats into our trade bodies doing what they're meant to do for the members, and there was good positive feedback on that. Talked about export levels, is that growing? And it is actually, which is interesting, considering the state of the economy, export levels have stayed strong or are growing. And it talked about concerns over compliance, it talked about just key issues that were there. It talked about what we talked about at the start of this podcast. We talked about what the company's doing to bring more diversity or younger people into the workplace as well. So it was exclusive research that we were able to publish in there. But then we go to experts, like ASFP, to give us detailed articles in different verticals. And so we break this huge 120-page guide down into sections, whether it's fire detection, passive fire protection, training, competency, evacuation, suppression. It's very diverse. And, we put, and we get contributions from the Home Office and other people in there as well. So it's the biggest piece of work we do every year, and it's, really, really well received. And when you look in it, there's like a who's who from our client base of manufacturers in there as well. But what really cool underlines what that is, Mike, is exclusively generated content that you don't see elsewhere. It's a real snapshot of what the sector is for that year and what's upcoming. And the feedback's been fantastic. We publish it every November. So although it feels like it's miles away, we're talking about October not being far away. I was talking to George from your team earlier, going, well, we need to plan the content already for that, because the back end of the year for ASAP is crazy, the stuff that you have on.
We do. I mean, it all starts for us. It all starts in March, really. It all sort of starts in earnest again.
I reckon I get about 10 days where I don't think of what's next in every year, which is about Christmas time, because there's no one to speak to. You look at your year end and you look at what's forward booked, you look at what your plans are, and it's so cyclical. I mean, we could talk about this from any kind of marketing plan through to business plan to anything else. You have to plan ahead. And, we've talked about your rewards, which are in there as well. It will be soon upon us, and it's scary how quick things go. And what I'm probably guilty of not doing enough is sometimes enjoying the now and looking back at the positives, because I'm always looking at what's next.
Well, I'm enjoying now. I always enjoy talking to you. So you see, I'm enjoying. I'm living in the moment.
This might be the closest I've been to living in the moment for a while.
Everyone chills out on the red ASFP sofa. The new one we got's got armrests on it, if you see.
Not tall enough to reach.
No, and we invested in a coffee table as well, which people probably can't see. So we've got the Ignite CPD, which will be really interesting. I think anyone that has to evidence a level of their professionalism through CPD is probably going to be interested in that. Obviously, we've got the 2 events which we've gone through, plus your the Fire Safety Matters. What do you call it again?
So the Fire and Security Matters Awards, and then there's we were just talking about the guide. The Fire Safety Matters Guide to UK Fire Safety.
And you publish that every year?
Every year, yeah, and along with 4 issues of the magazine, Fire Safety Matters.
So in terms of your competitor, International Fire Safety, I met him actually in Dubai. They had a stand.
Yep, they do.
And he seemed a very nice man.
Is that Duncan you met there?
Duncan, yes.
Really
They
good guy.
publish this 50 most influential people.
They do. I don't think I'm ever getting on that list, Mike, I'll be honest.
Well, without upsetting you, I was.
I know you were.
I'm not quite sure why, but and it's not an OBE, of course. Ian
Well,
Moore.
working towards it.
Or an MBE, a man, or a CBE, Susanna Nichols. It's none of those. But I always wondered, because obviously it's international, and you get people from all over the world in that, actually whether it was worth doing a sort of more UK-centric one. And the challenge with something like that, and I'm going really off, I mean, I'm the king of 90 degrees, going off at tangents. The challenge is, of course, is not to pick obvious people. So it'd be easy to pick someone like me or Ian or Gavin Dunn or somebody. But actually, the challenge is to pick those people that are most of the time unseen.
Yeah.
Who actually do make a difference.
Yeah, you could look at people, I name because I know him well. So like Paul Pope that's been in the sector. That
I met him at, I was in, there's a certain watering hole in Dubai
Abergettigans.
that is has an Irish theme that most of the fire industry go to after the first day of the show, and I had a quick chat with him there, and I think, and just going back to that sort of most influential people. I mean, it might not be most influential, but there is an opportunity. And if you ask Tristan from 19, I always like to give Tristan or Kareem something for one free thing every year to take away and do something with. That's why that show is so successful, because they've added up all of the one free things I've given them over the years.
It's a lot different than the show I launched, I can tell you.
They're coming in here soon, and they can absolutely deny that fact that it's all based on the free things that I gave them. But that's a free thing for you, Mark Sennett. I think sometimes it's good to celebrate the people that are not quite front and centre.
I completely agree. It's what I find with awards or things like that. It's I try and stay out of it because of knowing the people in the sector and having good personal relationships with them. That's why I like our awards where people can nominate themselves and nominate others. In situations like that, when we look at our Lifetime Achievement Award, I will definitely be coming for your opinion and all the other judges' opinions on that. I loved it when it hasn't been the head of the SSAIB, even though Alex thoroughly deserved it, right? Or Stephen Adams from BAFE also thoroughly deserved it. I love it when you look at those more unsung people that are in the industry, whether they're practitioners.
Well, they're not so visible. I mean, you reamed off names there that generally are in the sort of, they're in everyone's psyche. People know who they are. They're visible because they speak at shows or appear in magazines or rock up on podcasts and things. I was thinking more of the people that sort of do a lot of the work behind those people that would be worth sort of shining a bit of a light on.
I do it in the safety sector in our awards. We have a category called Unsung Hero, and I wonder if that's something that we should look in future of bringing into to the fire side.
Like I say, I like to give everyone one free thing.
That's going to cost me a beer down the line. But you're right. I mean, and I think everything that you do with your awards, we do on ours and magazine, it comes back to a lot of what we talked about today, which is the key role everyone does, and it's a vital sector, and there is many unsung heroes that are around, and I like that idea, and IFSJ have done it well on the international side, and we look at our brand of what we've got. We're known as, say, a UK publication. 90% of our audience is UK, but we are growing and growing our international audience. I suspect that will continue to grow over the years, particularly when you've got Ignite CPD being available to anywhere. Because one of the great things about the UK fire sector is, in my opinion, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, I think it's the envy of the world in terms of the competency level that's here, the expertise in it.
Yeah.
You go around the world, we're leading the way, whether it's through associations, whether it's through manufacturing, whether it's through regulation. You just look at the statistics in the sector, and compared to 20 years ago, again, the diminishing amount of major fires and fatalities and injuries is something we should be proud of.
It's lowering the frequency of major fire events, and it's lowering the quantum of people directly affected by them, and that's actually one of our KPIs as a long-term measure. We're not perfect, and I think Grenfell clearly evidenced that we're not perfect, although on balance, saying that, I was at an event last week where Paul Morrell gave a presentation of the Morrell Day report. And I like Paul because he's very honest. And part of his presentation last week was that he declared he loved our industry. The fire sector in construction was something to be proud of. And that's not something I've heard anyone say for 7 years. We can't change what's happened historically, but we can make sure that doesn't hopefully happen again to the level that it did. And we're talking about collaboration before and de-siloing, and that's absolutely the right thing to do. But the other major mission statement is about competency, educating, bringing skills, knowledge and experience. I do see a lot of stuff, I don't know if you see the same on social media, about behaviours. I think we have to be very careful about how behaviours are promoted. It shouldn't be a sort of exercise in virtue signalling. We can't ever say that if somebody carries a badge that nothing's ever going to go wrong because that person that carries the badge is perfect. We did actually last week, we had Martin here from an organisation that supports conflict avoidance. Martin's a member of the RICS, and that I found more interesting on the basis that scheme or that conflict, people sign up to, principal contractors sign up to it, manufacturers, subbies sign up to it, to say, look, following the world of Murphy's Law, things may go wrong, but it's actually how we deal with them after they've gone wrong. So rather than everyone heading off to the courthouse with a load of expensive lawyers, we, by signing up to this conflict avoidance scheme, means that they sign a pledge to say that they will look to settle it outside of court by a series of actions and sharing the responsibility. And I think by virtue of that, that's a culture change. People you don't hear the word training anymore. You hear competency. Yeah. And you don't hear the word, words that surround sort of typical construction ideologies. You hear things like culture change. Well, culture change is top down, and you need key drivers to drive culture change. And one of those is what you do after the event of something's going wrong, rather than sort of wandering around promising people that it will never go wrong. We're never ever going to stop fires in buildings, because by virtue of the fact people live and work in buildings, and most of the time it's human intervention that creates the problems of fires. We all remember, well, you actually at 40 you're probably not old enough, but the public information adverts of not smoking in bed and leaving the chip pan on.
Yeah, I do remember that.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, I do. I remember on this, I remember talking to Russ Timpson before Grenfell, and he said something that's always resonated with me. He says, we're making great strides in this country on fire safety, but it's going to take another massive tragedy for change to happen. Yeah. And it shouldn't be that way. No. But that is the case. And I do think on the back of that awful tragedy, I think the sector can take a lot of pride in terms of the steps that it has done to increase competency since then. Yeah,
because we could have gone backwards by virtue of standing still.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely the one thing that the industry hasn't done.
And I think the sector took responsibility for itself. I think it stepped up without government intervention, because the previous government had no interest in intervening in the sector at all. And that, because you said, they could have just left it to have done nothing. But actually, ASFP were very active in that. Obviously, the sector has stepped up and looked at what change is needed and pushed a competency agenda. It's not a government pushing a competency agenda at all.
No, it's industry. Been. I mean, when Dame Judith said industry, of course, the sort of, I suppose, industry is represented by its respective bodies. Yeah. So active is FIA, and interiors is FIS, and passive is us. And we have collectively, all three of those organisations have stepped forward. I mean, ASFP is effectively, I have to use the word very carefully because it's not ASFP. It's a global thing. Well, certainly from the point of view of the people involved, and it's not run by us. It's run through Health and Safety Executive and through the Building Safety Regulator. Yep. But ASFP is responsible for organising, managing, and running the secretariat around the competency groups. So we now run Sector Lead Group 12 under the Industry Competence Steering Group, which is all of passive fire protection. Now, there's a whole series of subgroups that sit under that, but I, for my sins, I chair that group along with David Mara, and that's a huge, the heavy lifting involved in delivering a structured framework for competency across all facets of passive fire is huge. And it's almost a generational thing. What I've started, I will not finish.
Yeah. Well, that sounds depressing because
it does,
you're far
doesn't
too
it?
young to say that. But
it does sound depressing.
But it's a commitment to ever evolving change and progression. That's what this sector is doing. It is progressing. In the past, this sector has been accused of not being particularly fast moving. Like, do products really come out? Big difference between this sector and the security sector. You and I could go and set up a company now to manufacture CCTV system, and it's not regulated. Whereas this sector is regulated. It's not slow moving.
No.
It's making sure it's compliant. The amount that goes in to R&D and compliance in this sector is understandable because of the nature of what the products are, and your members massively so in terms of the manufacturing side of your members, massively important that those products are compliant and do what they're meant to do. And so I think progression's the key with it. It's an evolving progression in the sector. And right now, the word on everybody's lips, as you say, is competency. But competency ultimately underpins everything. You can have a great product that's meant to act as a fantastic fire detection system, but if it's not competently installed, it's not the product.
It's not the product. No, absolutely right. And there's quite a, I was talking to quite a few people at Intersec who had come from all sorts, because you know what Intersec's like. I mean, everybody is there.
Yeah.
From all over the world, and it's amazing the number of markets that sort of will eagerly tell you they've cracked product compliancy. But then when you say, well, does that mean you've just given it to an incompetent person to install? They sort of, you very quickly see the colour drain out of them. They wander off, to go and find a coffee and sit down and think about it, because actually all you're doing is moving it to the next. And that's not because they don't know. It's because the chain is so long.
Yep.
And we could use the word golden thread. I mean, who on earth would ever think of something like that? And that's our challenge, is that it sits within design, it sits within engineering, procurement, principal contractors, subcontractors, all of the different facets of subcontractors. It goes out to the authorities in terms of people signing stuff off and approving things, and it goes all the way through to facilities management and occupation. And that's why, as I said, what we've started, I won't see finished, because it is a huge ask. But it's still going on, and it's still moving, and it's still going in the right direction. And that's why it's important that, fire safety matters and people communicate what industries like us are doing.
And that is our job, is what we said earlier, is communicating what's going on in the sector and communicating best practice and standards and competency and changes. That's what we do. And we're not experts in fire safety, but the people that contribute the content are. And the people that read the content are the people that have to then live this day to day and take it on board and move it forward, as you said, and keep it progressing. So, it's more, as we said right from the start, it's more than a publication. It's a media brand that touches people digitally, in person, and obviously in print and social media and direct to your inbox. But ultimately, it's there to educate, and CPD underpins all of that. And we're very blessed that we have a really engaged audience and a fantastic partner base like ASFP. And thank you for giving me the platform to talk about it.
You're very welcome. Welcome to this little corner of Coventry. We're surrounded by students these days, because Warwick University is just sort of there. And they're building more and more student accommodation around us, which is nice, because actually around this part it was nothing, but now there's
It's a lovely part of Coventry. Actually, my other half,
Well,
she lives
it's
in.
small I mean, I like to say Borsal Common because for those of you who live locally, it's posh apparently.
This is the posh part of Coventry. That is
the posh
true.
Part. Yes, that's people ask where we are, and we say the ASFP's in the posh part of Cov.
Very accurate.
Good luck with everything for this year.
Thank you.
We will be at Fire Safety Matters in Coventry, and the truck will be inside the arena or inside the actual exhibition space. We're going to do we'll do 60 seconds at Fire Safety Matters. People can come on. If you're visiting, you can come on and tell us what you think of Fire Safety Matters. If you're exhibiting, you can do the same. If you're presenting, you can do the same. And we might even let Mark Sennett in to do 60 seconds on all the reasons why it's such a brilliant show.
I could get 60 seconds, although people say I go on forever.
Probably do more,
Mark.
But you only get 60. And so we'll do 60 seconds at Fire Safety Matters inside the ASFP truck. Can't miss it. Massive big blue thing with ASFP splattered all over the outside of it. And we'll do that, and that'll be a bit of fun. And I know some of the technical team are presenting at the show as well. And we'll probably do exactly the same thing on the 1st of October up in Manchester as well.
You will, and I'm very much looking forward to having the awards in the evening, and thank you for that.
No,
it'll be
pleasure.
But a good chance to actually network and unwind. It's a good night.
I think so, yes. Although I'm still deliberating whether to get an Uber home or to stay in one of the local fine chain hotels in next to the Coventry Arena. In fact, is that one still open? I can't remember.
So, yeah, the hotel's attached on site.
That's right.
The Hilton.
It's the Hilton.
It is, yeah.
So I'll do a Hilton. I think
you might talk. I think we've long sold that one out,
Have
Mike.
Okay.
But there are other ones nearby.
Looks like an Uber then, Mark.
It might be an Uber.
Lovely. Anyway, thank you for coming in. Great to see you.
Great to see you.
Good to see that Fire Safety Matters is sort of, as a like you say, you're not just a publisher. I think you're more than that, and I think a lot of people would agree. Come and see us later in the year. We always invite anyone that comes in. We always invite them back. Surprisingly, most people have come back, although the odd one hasn't. So we must try and get a customer feedback form to understand what their experience was like. Come and see us again. Always happy to engage. Like I say, it's all about de-siloing and shattering the myths. And ultimately, like you say, improving things in the built environment, which is what we're all here to do. Good to see you.
Great to see you.
Thanks for coming.